Sky Howdy, and welcome back to another episode of World Bigfoot Radio.
Kristi's favorite Bigfoot song.
Wait, can I play this? I've got to. I love it.
Yeah.
Hold
Is
on.
it Bigfoot's gonna get you, gonna get you?
Yes.
Yeah.
yes. So anyway, for people that doesn't know, Duke actually did a video with the song, and it turned out awesome. Hangs high on the breast of the lake. It's like back of the wind. It's like a slap in the face. A legend of horror lurks in the haze. It's called hardwood. A giant of a creature all covered with hairs, tall as the timber and strong as a bear. But not go walking out there with Bigfoot. Bigfoot's coming, gonna get you, gonna get you. Bigfoot's coming, so you better watch out. Lock your doors and bolt your windows. Bigfoot's on the prowl. Bigfoot's coming, gonna get you, gonna get you. Bigfoot's coming, so you better watch out. Lock your doors and bolt your windows. Bigfoot's on the prowl.
That's Cole Pop singing with you too.
Yeah, you heard him? My dad sings with
And we're back tonight with something a little bit different, although I'm going to be doing an interview with Kristi, who's already been on the show before. This one has kind of a specific motivation for it, in that we are going to talk about the behind the scenes of the upcoming Inevitably Finding Bigfoot.
Yeah!
And Kristi was one of the cast members. And for those of you that do not know that much about Kristi, a little bit of background. Kristi is, you can find stuff that she has done on YouTube on a Bigfoot Research Evidence podcast channel and also on Bigfoot Explorer channel. And she's been around the community for a few years. She's did a presentation at the Nebraska Bigfoot Conference with me last year, and she was up there again this year, which is how she managed to be on the team Inevitably Finding Bigfoot, because she just happened to be there a little bit in advance. But before we get to that, a little bit more about Kristi. She does research down in her area in the Deep South. She's down in Louisiana, and she's brought with a couple of pretty cool track casts that she's managed to glom onto that she can show us right now.
Yes, and it comes from my alpha male who is 10'2". This is
Show the regular size one first.
Oh, the regular size one? Sure.
Yeah. How big is that one? Like
14 inches.
14 inches?
Yeah.
And it didn't pick up good detail, unfortunately, but yeah, you could definitely tell it's that's a humanoid footprint right there. That's not some kind of a bear or dog or something.
No, and plus it was in swampy water, so
Yeah.
swampy mud, and you know the mud was all gooky. Yee.
There you
Okay.
go. So now she's got a big one. This is from the alpha male in one clan that she does research on. But she's going to have to like lean way back and hold it up for us to even be able to see it. That is one massive foot. That is really big. How big is that track?
He is 21 inches long, 8 inches wide.
Probably a little wider than that, but yeah. And that's, yeah, folks, I've been finding some tracks that size up here this summer too. So you can tell when you look at that, the foot that's making a track that size, that is a big foot. And clearly it's going to be owned by a equally big Bigfoot that's making those tracks. So yeah, to anybody that thinks that there aren't any big Bigfoot down there in Louisiana, well, there's a track from one right there. There's some big boys down there too. So another thing we're going to show you guys right now is about a week before we had the outing in Nebraska, you were out in the field. Where was this at?
This was in Leedsville, Louisiana.
Leedsville. What part of the state's
Leedsville.
that in?
That's like going toward Texas.
Okay. So a little bit further west.
Yes. By
Is it-
Caddo Lake.
Oh, okay. Well, Caddo Lake, everybody knows how infamous Caddo Lake is.
Yes.
It's so scary that Keith Crabtree even has a camp out there.
Yeah. Yeah, that
When
was
it-
fun.
Well, isn't there one of those coming up this year too?
We went this year in the beginning of April, right before the Nebraska.
Oh, okay. Okay. So is he's doing that again next year then?
I hope so. You know, I enjoyed it.
Something
I
for
had
people
fun.
to look forward to if they live down in that area. You can go hang out with the Boggy Creek Monster himself, camp in a Bigfoot area. And apparently it is an area where there was Bigfoot activity because we got some video here showing who were you out with when you found that?
I was with Sharon Guy.
Okay, Sharon.
Yeah.
So, yep, that's who's in the background there is Kristi's maneuvering to put her foot on one side or the other of the track and get some video of it. So let's check that out.
Man, I'm excited. Two casted tracks along. Man, I'm excited. Two casted tracks.
Yeah, that's a pretty cool track right there.
Yeah, no, huh? It's very fun when you look for the prints, you know?
Yeah, it's fun when you find them.
Yeah.
I was just out Thursday with my new roommate Johnny, and we went up to Area A and spent the day running around up there, and we found several tracks, including one that was 11 inches across the front, so that extrapolates to a 22-inch track, about the same size as the one you just showed. And then Johnny found that 15, 16 inches long, but it was just squashed into the ground like a cookie cutter. And I put my foot next to the hole in the ground and danced on it, bounced on it with one leg, and I weighed 240. And you couldn't even see a imprint from my tennis shoe at all next
Yeah.
to this thing. So,
When they
yeah.
say- When they say they're 1,000 pounds, you best believe that. They're 1,000 pounds.
Yeah, I think most people greatly underestimate how heavy they actually are because even the little ones that have got a foot smaller than me will sink into the ground further than I will by quite a bit. They're
Oh, yeah.
tremendously heavy. So everybody always underestimates their weight, and their weight's way, way bigger than most people seem to think it is. So yeah, that brings us up to, like I said, Kristi spoke there last year, and then this year she was just invited to come up and help do the event. So she went up there, and she got there a day early to help do the event. And so when we showed up a day early and Blaine Tyler was already there, we had a plan. Hey, we got one day before the conference. Let's go Bigfooting in Nebraska. Well, this came about because of a challenge. Somebody was talking to me about finding Bigfoot and that I'm too hard on them. And, they come in cold from somewhere else. They don't know the state that they're going into. They have a town hall meeting. They try and get a read on where might be a good area to go look locally, and then they go look there. Of course, they also bring 2 tractor trailers full of gear and crew with them and make so much noise that they chase every Bigfoot within 50 miles away. So that's not helping their cause. So we just decided that, well, let's see what we can do given no town hall meeting and very little time, boots on the ground, and no budget. Can we actually do better than them and go find Bigfoot in some other state that we don't live in? And Nebraska is very different than where Kristi lives, and it's very different than where me and Viking Ashton live here in the mountains, and it's also very different than where Blaine Tyler lives up in the northeast Ontario, Canada, right on the Canadian Shield. As a matter of fact, the only person on our team that had any idea about Nebraska was our anchorman, Richard Soul, who does Bigfoot research in Nebraska. So even though Nebraska is notoriously non-squatchy, we decided that as long as we got Rich on our side, we can't fail. And I remember I had him on my show years ago, and it came up that he had been with the BFRO. So I brought up finding Bigfoot. And I said, what's your opinion of finding Bigfoot? And there was this long pause, and he says, it's just not that hard. Well, he proved it. So we got there a day early. We got there Wednesday night. We're all exhausted. Thursday morning, nobody wants to do anything but sit there and try and recover. And I'm being the big meanie and going, get in the cars. We're going Bigfoot, whether you want to or not. And I was like doing it to myself more than them because I didn't want to go either. But it's like, here's the only chance we're going to get. We got to go. So we jumped in 2 vehicles and we drove 2 hours over to the capital city of Nebraska, Lincoln. Because, hey, that's where you're going to find Bigfoot, right in the capital city, right? And as a matter of fact, that is where we went looking. We went looking in 2 little areas in the suburbs right outside of Lincoln because we didn't have time to go any further. We thought we had the whole day with Richard, and as it turned out, he had to leave early in the afternoon. So by the time we got there, we only had 3 hours. So we got to go to 2 locations in the suburbs between the 3 hours. And both those areas were in little creeks that had floodplains around them, which is the only reason there weren't houses there, because they would flood. So they've got these little narrow canyons with these creeks in them, with of course trees and stuff, because nobody can build there because floodplain. But as soon as you go up the hill on either side of it, there's houses for miles in every direction. So this looks like one of the least likely places to find any sign of Bigfoot. But of course, Rich has been there many times before and found structures and tracks and whatnot. So he said, well, let's just go there and see what we can find. So, and of course, as he is, Rich is 100% right and gold. And we found all kinds of stuff while we were there, even given that we only had 3 hours and to go to 2 different places. So you'll see all this coming up on Inevitably Finding Bigfoot. That is one massive foot.
All right, we just crossed it.
Yeah, made it.
Yes, we made it. We're going deeper into the bush. Beautiful little place. So show them how this is stuck in the ground.
I'm not touching it. We can't touch it.
I am. Just to show. You heard that?
Yeah, I heard that.
That might have been a tree falling, but we just heard
a tree falling.
we just heard a loud. You heard that?
Yeah, I heard that.
we're going to talk about tonight is filling in some of the gaps of stuff that didn't get filmed, things that happened that, you may lack context when you actually watch the show. So we're going to go with that. One thing that you guys didn't see that I'm reminded of is when we got to the one location, the first thing Ashton did was fire up his drone and went flying it over the woods. And he goes, "Hey, Duke, come here." And I walked over and I go, "What do you got?" And I looked on his screen and it looked like he had 3 big stumps there. And I'm like, "So, stumps?" And he goes, "Dude, the drone is at treetop level." And I went, "Oh God, those aren't stumps. Those are giant structures. Which direction?" And he points. So then we all took off and went directly over there. That was the first place we went on that one.
This is really awesome. That is so freaking cool. You can actually go into it. Yeah, it's boundary markers. That means boundaries. Look, they got one over here behind you. This must be a playground for the kids.
The other one, you'll see the picture of, I'll show it, that Rich had been down there with Harriet McFeely from the Bigfoot Museum and was taking her a tour around, showing her some of the structures and stuff. And one of them was this really beautiful arch. And we got a picture that's going to be in the show of her standing next to the arch. So I told Rich I saw that picture, and he goes, "Oh, we'll go right to that spot. I know where that is." So we go walking across the bridge, and we see a couple other interesting things on the way there. And then when we get to where the structure is, it's completely different. Like somebody tried to cut down part of it with a chainsaw, and apparently the Bigfoot retaliated by covering it with wood on both sides and made another huger structure out of it. So yeah, that was pretty peculiar. And then we kind of split up into little teams and went all over the place from there. And we were doing the thing like, "Hey guys, over here," and then everybody'd run over there, and somebody else would be finding something else at the same time. And Kristi and Blaine were lurking around behind people, giving them photobomb pictures and stuff.
AKA Canadian Bacon.
Canadian Bacon, that's his cowboy name when he's as part of the Wildman Bunch. He's the Canadian member of the Wildman Bunch, so he is Canadian Bacon.
Now, speaking of the structures, I got a picture I think I sent you as I walked inside the structure.
Yeah.
Like in there. That was cool.
Those were big. I was standing inside that one too, and these again are the ones that we saw with the drone and went, "What are those stumps? No, those are giant structures." And they were really giant. And I walked right inside of one of them. I could stand up. I didn't have to lean over or anything. So these things were really big. Somebody spent a whole lot of time. And some of the pieces of wood they used are pretty outsized and heavy too. And then around that area, we found a lot of juvenile tracks. Blaine found a whole bunch of them. I found 2 of them. And another thing that I found is somebody apparently has the area staked out, because if you walk away from those big structures further back into the woods, there's a game trail. And as I was walking down the game trail, all of a sudden I noticed a band on the tree, and I looked, and there's a game cam pointed away from me further into the woods. But it's like so obvious, I'm not even looking for it. And I came walking up on the back side of it, and I noticed it. So what, you don't think Bigfoot's going to notice it? So I took out my camera and I started filming it and going, "Yeah, hey, like you need to hide these things better than this." I wasn't even looking for it and I noticed it. And then I took the camera and I eased it around the front of the game cam and filmed the game cam and then pulled the camera back again. So you guys will see that on the video too. Game trail. I'm a dumb, unobservant human who ain't paying any attention. And even I can spot something this damn obvious before I walk in front of it. Let's have some fun. Okay, they're gonna have fun watching that pile. Let's go see if we can find something interesting here. And I'm sure they'll have fun when they pull their game cam card and go, "What the bleep is this? There's a hand with a handy cam filming the camera."
The Sasquatch were probably in the background going, "Whoa, whoa, whoa, go ahead, Duke." Whoa, whoa, whoa."
If I would have been thinking, I would have grabbed a huge piece of bark and just lowered it down over the lens from behind. And I would have. Blaine was talking about that, and he's like, "Yeah, it'd go viral all over the place. It'd be like, oh, it had to be Bigfoot that did this. Who else could do it? You know, well, like a human that thinks it's funny could do it, for instance." You know, one thing, I think it was the same place where I found that tree hanging in the tree. And this just kind of went like usual. Like, Kristi's really good at spotting the Bigfoot. Blaine's really good at finding their tracks. I'm really good at finding huge structures. So who found most of the tracks? Blaine. Who spotted the Bigfoot? Kristi. And who found the biggest structure? Me. And the one I'm talking about is a hardwood tree that's like that thick around. And keeping in mind again, this is like a river valley. There's no huge tornado down there to rip this tree out and put it up. As a matter of fact, there's lots of little dead twig-like trees all around that area that would have went down like so many matchsticks before there was ever enough wind to move that thing. So how did it get put up in that tree? And no, flooding isn't an option. Sorry, folks. The water doesn't get that high. And Rich Soul pointed that out too. He thought that was a good find. But what else? Well, I found a deer carcass.
Yeah.
And that was pure serendipity because we're across this ravine, another flooded ravine. We were standing out on this promontory, and Rich said, well, there's a teepee structure over there. Well, you can't get to it. You had to go way backtrack and walk around this big ditch to get over to it. And I was leading the way, and along the way, I just happened to go down a trail that had a deer carcass in it, so you get to see that. And again,
the fur was ripped off and thrown.
Yeah, and questionable too, because yeah, maybe local dogs did it, but there aren't any wolves. Coyotes inside the city limits living in that valley, well, somebody would know about that. They ain't all that good at hiding their signs. And then the other thing that happened, I'm not sure if Blaine mentioned it or not, but we had spread out. We were going two different directions. Blaine was going off to the right, and I was going off to the left. And I went way down into the ravine, looked around for muddy prints and nothing, climbed back out again. Meanwhile, Blaine was going the opposite direction, and when he got right over by it, on the opposite side of this little river ravine, there's a train track. There was a train going by, and it was making plenty of racket. So Blaine's being smart, and he's going, well, I'll just use this to cover the noise of me moving. And I'll sneak right up on the edge of that riverbank and look down, see if there's anything in there. And right as he got up to the top of it, the train finishes going by. There's no more background noise. And he hears this really loud pop, wood knock, coming from across the ravine. So his initial, right away, he goes, oh yeah, knock it off, you guys. I'm not falling for it. And he turns around and looks behind him and realizes everybody's way behind him. And there is no way to get across that ravine other than climb down, go through the river, and climb back up the muddy bank on the other side. And I do mean climb and mud. Nobody's over there, but something just wood knocked at them.
They wanted some of that Canadian bacon.
They wanted some Canadian bacon. Some Canadian bacon all their own. So what sticks in your mind from our 3 hours on the ground there?
Okay, I did see a teepee structure on the end of the ravine going down into the creek bed or whatever.
Yeah.
It looks like a juvenile size. I got a picture. I sent it to you, I believe.
Yep.
And then I found those two round structures, completely circle. That was odd to me.
Yeah, that was some strange looking stuff. I didn't even get over in that area you and Blaine were in. where you
Yeah.
found that. And as I recall, that was at the second area, because you guys came back and Blaine wanted to go out again, and I was like, well, my ankle's shot at this point. I can't even go any further. And Ashton didn't want to hang around, and I think pretty much the only person who wanted to keep going was Blaine. If my ankle hadn't gave out, I would have wanted to keep going, but
We could have stayed. Yeah.
can't walk anymore. Yeah, we should have. We should just let him go back there. As it was when we were at Area 1, he was way the heck back in there somewhere, and we were all back at the parking lot yelling for him.
Yeah.
And I don't know if he couldn't hear us or not, but it took him like another 15 minutes or so to make it back out. And we're like waiting, going, we're running out of time here, Blaine. Come on, where are you? We haven't got all day to Canadian bacon around in the woods here. We only got 3 hours total, and you're burning up time.
Exactly.
So, yeah, and then, see, he was hearing us yelling for him and doing Bigfoot whoops and stuff when he was there. So that's why when he heard that wood knock at the second place, he thought we were pranking him. Like, it's those guys making noise again. No, that's like way out there on the other side of the river in that ravine, and like there's no road to get over there, Blaine. We're not there. You're in the lead, dude. Yeah,
Well,
I was with
yeah.
him. I was way over to his left, in a different part of the river at the same time that was going on.
We all jumped on it though.
Oh yeah, everybody did great, just as you would expect. And then you spotted a couple of them across the river from us, and I couldn't see where the hell they were at. You managed to grab a static shot with your camera, and of course they're hiding behind bushes. And the only reason you can even tell it's them is because this is April. There's no leaves. What's the obvious black thing right behind the bush? There's nothing behind that bush, yet it has a black shadow right behind it, right? So I did my best to stabilize my camera against the tree and try and zoom in across the river. I couldn't see what she was looking at. So I just scanned the bank on the far side. And as it turned out, I caught them, but just for a second or two. And because I didn't realize I had the camera on them, I couldn't see where they were. So I just scanned the bank like that, went back again. And as it turned out, I did catch them. And I think I got one other than the one you got, because it looks like a head and shoulders sticking out from around this tree. And then there's the other one that's like behind the bush that I think is the one you were looking at. So there's two of them, and of course they're doing the Bigfoot thing. They're across the ravine and the creek from us where we can't get to them. But they can be so close they can watch us. And Rich apparently either spotted them or just went with you saying that they were over there, because he's yelling, "Ahoo! Hello, Sitaga," and all this other stuff to him.
I think they mostly responded to the Oseo, Nahalio. But yeah, that was fun.
It was a blast, and
It
kind of makes our point that no expense was spent. There was no director. There was no script. We didn't have a town hall meeting. We only had 3 hours, and we're in one of the least squatchiest states in the entire country, and we still found Bigfoot. Okay, finding Bigfoot, what's your frickin' problem? With 10 years and a giant budget, you couldn't find him even once. Are you not trying to find Bigfoot, or do you just suck? I want the answer. Are you purposely trying not to find Bigfoot, or do you guys just suck? Well,
Yeah.
I guess, you only did have actually one Bigfoot researcher on your team. Bobo, who was a really good guy and good Bigfoot researcher, and the other 3 wannabes that he had with them. So we had the deck totally stacked in our favor because we had the magnificent 4.5, Rich Soul Man, Blaine Tyler, Canadian Bacon, Kristi SciFi, Smallfoot, Ashton, Viking, and Duke as Duke. And that was
Sir
our team. Lord Duke. I actually have the title.
Lord Duke, but Sir Duke.
To Inevitably Finding Bigfoot, which is just the video of me and Ashton on our 2-day epic journey across the mountains and Great Plains over to the Nebraska Bigfoot Museum. And our adventures along the way, some of the beautiful scenery that we filmed. We also stopped in Deadwood, South Dakota, and stayed there overnight, and then visited Wild Bill Hickok and Calamity Jane's graves first thing in the morning before we took off and mountain manned and cowboyed it across the prairie over to meet up with the rest of the Wild Man bunch, the magnificent 4.5 team, Inevitably Finding Bigfoot. So, yeah, we did our big ordeal there, our 3 hours, boots on the ground, with no film crew, no script, no budget, no equipment. Every researcher was doing their own filming. Wow, that was sure hard. But the story doesn't end there. So then we came back to the Bigfoot Museum where me and Kristi and Blaine were all staying. And me and Blaine were actually sleeping on the floor in the museum. Kristi was like in the upper part of the house. So we weren't in the same part of the house or anything. But that evening we were out in the driveway having a cig. And what happened?
Well, as you was talking, I turned my head and I looked, and I saw him at the peripheral vision. There was a Sasquatch standing there, so I took his picture. Like he was posing.
And as it turns out, after you look at his picture, there was 2 of them there, because there's one sort of behind him over his shoulder too. And there's no mistaking that there was something standing there, because we've got the video that will be in Inevitably Finding Bigfoot from the following day, where I'm standing exactly the same spot me and Kristi were standing when they showed up, and she goes over and stands exactly where they were standing, and I videoed it. And there's just like a little thin line of trees there between the edge of the museum property and the cornfield. There's nothing back behind it. Perfectly flat, far as the eye can see. So there's no way it could have been anything else. So anyway, the point here being that there's really no other thing that can account for there being an object standing in between these trees, because there's nothing back there behind it, and there shouldn't have been anything there. Also, we found what we thought were a couple of tracks, but hard-packed gravel driveway, so difficult to be certain what it was we were looking at. I mean, it looked to our eyes like tracks, but when you're filming it, it's hard to see anything there. So if I show you guys, that's why it looks like dubious, because it's, as a lot of times you can see the track with your naked eye, and then when you try and film it, it's like, why isn't this on camera? Well, because camera has no depth perception. You have to have like a shadow along one side of it or something so that you can see the outline of it. Other than that, you're not going to be able to see it. And this is pretty much like midday, I think, when we were trying to film this. So, of course, no shadows. We couldn't see anything like that. And then later that night, when we were in the museum sleeping, and Blaine will tell this part in the show, he heard this sound and he woke up, turned around and looked out the window, and there was a Bigfoot there looking at him with red eye glow. And Blaine thought, A, that's scary, and B, this is the first time he had ever seen eye glow. So it was an entirely new thing for him. In as many years as he's been out there running around filming Bigfoot, he's doing it during the day. He's not like Rich and some of these nighttime commandos that go walk around in the dark with no flashlight or anything, and then, oh, look, Bigfoot eye glow. Well, you're walking around in the dark, you're more likely to see it if you're doing that. So, and they filmed it a few times too. But again, this is the cool thing where you got somebody who's had many, many, many Bigfoot experiences, got them on camera many times, but never had actually seen that before. And I haven't seen it either. I haven't seen eye glow. I've seen eyes shine, and I've seen the reflection of like starlight or moonlight off their eyes, but I've never seen actual eye glow.
It's bizarre when you see the eye glow. It's like flashlights.
Yeah, well, I've seen video of it, and that's what the video looks like.
I've seen that in Arkansas. Believe me, it's weird. We were doing an expedition, and it was like being stupid, doing the hollers and knocks and all that stuff, which you don't really need to do all that for them to come see. I turned around and I did my holler, and he panned the camera around, and you could see the eye twinkling of the Bigfoot behind us. And then when Patrick did his holler, there was nothing going on. But once we left the area where that amber eye shine that I seen, we came around, we walked upon the Sasquatch, and the tracker was in front of us that was on Bigfoot Explorer with us. The eyes were red, so apparently he didn't like them for some reason. That's why his eyes were red
Instead of amber.
instead of amber. Yeah.
Oh, that's pretty wild. What do you think? Why do you think he gave him the red eye glow?
Because he didn't like them. There's something. These people, ancient people, they know who you are. So if they like you, they're gonna show themselves to you. If they don't like you, you just better back away from it.
Yeah. Or if they really don't like you, they'll just chase you out of the woods.
Oh, zap you.
Or zap you.
Zappify.
They'll zappify you. Frank Zappa. They'll Frank Zapper you. Like that one did to Joyce Gray's camera when he zapped it and fried the battery.
Well, that's like when Papa C. Craig came up there by you, and I told you, I said, they don't like him. Listen to me. Well, guess what? He got zapped.
Yeah, first morning he was there. As soon as we went walking up the trail next to the river, they zapped him.
Yep.
And he was all discombobulated for, well, the whole time he was there, and it was like 2 or 3 days after he got back, before it wore off and he started feeling normal again. So, yeah, they can definitely mess with you. They messed with his camera, too, because he took over an hour of video and a lot of pictures. And when all was said and done, he had 1 minute clip of video and 4 pictures.
Oh, yeah.
Everything else was erased or turned into snowball fights or static, or it had lines through it, or just wasn't there.
Well, they have a good persona of picking who is good and who's bad,
Yeah. Well, and as for his part, he's had that camera for a long time, and before that, it always worked flawlessly, and since then, it's always worked flawlessly. That's the only time when it didn't work right.
Mm-hmm.
So again, people can say, well, they've got no ability to mess with electronic stuff. Well, we've got the evidence that apparently they do, because we keep seeing this pattern over and over and over and over again, where you can have a nice fresh battery, all of a sudden, dead.
But that's the truth. And where are you living at? You're in where?
The woods.
In Montana?
Yeah.
I'm down here in the deep south in Louisiana. So how would I know that they don't like him?
Yeah. I don't know, because they're snitches and they told you.
Okay. No, I'm just making a point.
Because they're little snitches and they told you that. They were mad at him. But they won't be specific. They wouldn't tell us exactly why. We've nailed it down to either he took a shot at one or pointed a gun at one, whether he realized it was a Sasquatch or not at the time. They don't really care about that part of the detail.
Exactly.
So, yeah, they had attitude about him. Now, since then, he's been trying to make it up to him. And when he, goes hunting and kills something, he leaves parts of it for them. And when he goes in the woods to pick mushrooms, he lets them know, that's all I'm here for, is to pick mushrooms. I'm not here to cause trouble. And he said so far they've quit pushing trees over next to him all the time.
Well, he's got more years to gain their trust again, believe me.
Yeah. Well, they don't, change their mind quickly or anything. It'll take a little while. But it went from every time he went in the woods mushroom picking, he'd hear 2 or 3 trees getting pushed over near him. So, now they're not really doing that anymore. And one of them actually came walking through camp where him and Nana were so they could see him. So I think they're like making up a little bit at this point. Like, yeah, okay.
That's good.
So hopefully, yeah, it'll make his life a lot safer if they haven't got a grudge against him and he wants to go in the woods, so that would be a good thing. So what else sticks in your mind from the whole inevitably finding Bigfoot experience?
Oh, yeah, when I was in the room sleeping with Robin. Where I was at, I was laying on the opposite side of the bed by the window. Well, guess what? Just like you did before, they had one looking in the window. And he had the most gorgeous, like, copper brown eyes. Now, I'll say this. My alpha male has blue eyes, and his eyes are drop dead gorgeous, okay? But there was something about this eye looking at me in the window. It was just gorgeous. Just a overpowering of respect and love. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well,
And
Chrissy's
I woke Robin up. I said, Robin, I said, there's one looking in the window at me. She turned over and she looked. She said, yeah, he's looking at you.
Yeah, clearly really excited Robin to see that. The year before, you had been sleeping on the couch down in the basement, and I was down there talking to you before I went to bed, and there was this window that had all of the blinds on it that fold, and one slat was somehow open. And
Yeah,
you
wasn't
said,
that weird?
Duke, that one slat is open. I get the feeling there's something over there watching me. Can you take care of that? And I went, okay. So I walked over and I opened all the slats. And he went, why'd you do that? And I go, well, if they're wanting to watch you, they're just trying, they want to keep an eye on you. Probably one of yours from down south put them up to it. They keep an eye on you and make sure you're okay.
Yeah, the Sukaloo Secret Service is watching me.
Yep. Yeah, they don't let her go do research in dangerous places and stuff because, too dangerous. And that's her Secret Service to make sure that she doesn't do things like that.
You can't go there. Why? Bad.
Honey Island Swamp Monster.
No, Gugly.
Gugly too, yeah.
3-toed. 5-toed.
Well, the nice thing is that they have a pretty good handle on what's in certain areas, and if she tells them she's going to a certain place or something and they know there's something bad there, they'll basically tell her you shouldn't go there.
Exactly.
So that's kind of handy. I
Yeah,
haven't
it
got
kind of
that.
helps us.
Yeah. That's something that I don't have. I'm just kind of stuck with it. So wander in, look for tracks, see what kind of things are wandering around there. Find them before they find you, hopefully.
Yeah, but you got your big guys. You got the... I'm trying to think. Hold on. FBI following you. The Forest Bigfoot investigators following you.
I got FCI, Forest Construction Inc. They're the ones that make all those giant structures. They got their own little construction company.
Exactly.
I just picture a whole bunch of Bigfoot with tool belts and hard hats on, pushing trees into place. It's pretty much them. Except they don't have the hard hats or the tool belts. They don't need them. So, yep, it was an interesting time. We seriously kind of just did it for fun and didn't have much hope that we would actually be able to find anything, much less, two of them there on site while we were looking, and then two more of them showing up that night at the museum. So inevitably finding Bigfoot, score 4, finding Bigfoot 0. After one show, and they had 10 years. We're going to keep score. Well, we don't actually need to ever do the show again because we already succeeded. It only took one show. But it would be fun maybe to do another one. I mean, we could do one in like each state or something if people really wanted us to, and get together a different team in each state and try and randomly wander around and find a Bigfoot. See if we can do it.
Yeah, that's true.
But that's all up to the people that are the viewers and listeners and watchers and ooglers and spectators, couch potatoes. They're all different kinds of taters. Yeah, okay, we've seen your Bigfoot action figure.
Well, it depends on if the Sasquatch like the people too.
Yes, absolutely, because you can go to a place that's chock-a-block full of yowies, and if they don't like you, you're still not going to see anything.
Exactly.
All right, well, I think we're about as far as we need to go. We're going to, like I said, we're going to show you that to inevitably finding Bigfoot. I got to warn you, it sort of turns into a spaghetti western there toward the end. You start thinking you're watching a Clint Eastwood movie there toward the end, but it's all intentional.
Wah, wah, wah.
Exactly. Okay, and with that, I think we're going to sign out here. Is there anything else you wanted to say, dear?
No, thank you for having me on the show again. I really appreciate it.
You're so welcome, and thanks for being part of the team. Kristi and I talk every day, so we're always in contact. So that's one of the reasons it was so fun to have both of us in the same place at the same time and go, hey, let's go look for Bigfoot. And then have Blaine Tyler, Ashton, and of course Richard Soul, who we owe a great debt of thanks to for this one, because he's the boots on the ground local guy that just went, this is probably the best place to go look. We only got a few hours. Let's go here. And as usual, he was right. This is why the guy's been on my show like 8 frickin' times. He knows what he's talking about. He's right only about 100% of the time. So, all right, everybody, we love y'all.
Make sure that you're kind to everyone. Safety first, last, and always. Pay it forward. Don't be mean to people if you don't have to be. Don't flip off the mountain giant. Don't poke Dogman with a stick. Don't punt the puck, would you? And for God's sake, whatever you do not hug the Wookiee.